It says that I am live. Peace and blessings, everyone, and welcome to Sankofa Now, your daily dose of African-centered learning plus application. I hope you all are doing well today as we get right into this. And before we get started, I want to give great thanks to the ancestors that came before us, those that are here with us now, and those that will come with us into the future. And this one's going to be dedicated to George Floyd and his family after his murder during this time, and what his life represents, what this experience for us as we practice Sankofa at this time and learn from what's happening, learn from the past so we can take it into the future and make changes differently. So again, I'm Nakia Porter, family, Thrash, Davis, Powell, right? Lovely, Porter. And with all of those, I am able to share with you my experiences and support to increase your appetite and knowledge of self. Knowledge of self is so important, especially at this time. Knowledge of self never gets old. It's not a trend. It's something that will help you continuing to be the better you that you could possibly be and not be taken advantage by others when they tell you who you are. So we're going to get right into this, really touching on, again, the Sankofa principles. We're still in this introduction as we share with you all and sharing my experiences plus resources that you can continue to use that I've used as well. And then the call to action. And so a lot of times we have a lot of information, but we don't actually follow up with what it is that we need. So I'm going to get right into this with you all. So one of the links that I provided last time is sankofa.org. And on sankofa.org, this is a site that Harry Belafonte actually put together. And as we talk about, I mentioned George Floyd and his family and praying for now, he's an ancestor to us and access to his experiences, what happened, and just knowing that the things that we're learning, the things that we're doing right now to continue to appreciate his life and knowing that what he experienced and what we shall do now not to be taken in vain. And so going into the review of Sankofa today, I think is very fitting. And I'll go ahead and start. It says, looking back is becoming more and more prevalent for providing a clearer look into injustices of today. And as I looked at Harry Belafonte and his team at Sankofa.org, they are providing support in the following ways. Through art, culture, and media, Sankofa.org addresses injustice and creates change on multiple levels. In support of our grassroots partners, they enlist performers and prominent individuals to deliver messages of moral and political consequence. So that's from Sankofa.org. And with that review, and again, with George Floyd and multiple others, right, Trayvon Martin and a lot of these names that come up and the experience there of not understanding the past of these things that have happened. A lot of people say this is not new. They're just being publicized more. And so now it's how do we leverage this information in order to, sorry, it's a little dark, in order to take it in order to take action strategically so we don't continue to fall into the same holes and not go back into the daily cycles as if these things are not happening. And with that, I will take what, Harry Belafonte and their team is doing and saying, not everybody goes out and protest or shows their activism in the same way. Like for me, I'm realizing through my writing and through my speaking is my way in order to contribute to my community, in order to share the pain, the anger, the just tiredness of these things that are happening, and in order to work together to say, you know what, like Marvin said, what's going on, we need to do something differently. And so with that, as I transition into my experience and being able to share with you all from the last time, the question that I had was, What, right? What is something or an idea or a practice that you are holding on to that is stunting your growth? What will you do to let it go? And why is it important to let it go? And this one, initially, I wasn't really sure about how I was going to address this. But I think this is really good for those that were watching the previous one to do this, because in these situations, it's really good to understand why you're doing the things that you're doing. So for me, very optimistic, but my husband has found something for me, that there's something where it's almost like toxic optimism, right? Or positivity, where basically people that are having trauma or that are having challenges, where I would dismiss it because I didn't want to go into that state, right? But there's a way to be able to address that someone is hurting, that someone is having a challenging time, without going in and feeding into a negative type of pessimistic space. So, I realize that you're having a hard time right now, and no one should have to go through that experience. And if there's something I can do to lend, some support, emotional support, or, guidance or other things like that, let me know, and I would do the best that I can do. Before, I might have just brushed it off like, things are fine, you're okay, don't worry about it. But that can then shut the other person down and not allow them to express themselves. And so this was something that I realized, that if I wanted to continue to help and connect with others, that was going to be something that I would need to let go. And the benefit of that was, those that I'm supporting or that I'm working with, they feel welcome, they feel listened to. And for me, I know what it feels like to not be listened to. I know what it feels like to have these thoughts of anger and frustration and feel as though you have no one to share it with. And so that's something that I'm going to let go and be more aware of when interacting with others, so that they know that there is a safe space, that there's this environment where they can be vulnerable, where they can, be themselves, and no matter where it is, not just when I select to do it. And so, if you haven't figured out what that is for you, I would say take that time to really figure out what is holding you back. Because, like I said, with George Floyd and things that are happening right now with the family, it can be really easy to be desensitized to what's happening, because it's happening so massively. Versus now we're looking at, certain riots that happened in the past at certain monumental points, looking at them and understanding that these are people, this is life that we're talking about. And it's not just something that can be brushed aside, but you have to figure out for you, what is your way to be able to take action. And so with that, um, in order to really send the love, send the guidance, send the support, send the focus for all of those that are surrounded around making decisions, those that are um, dealing with these frustrations with no outlet, that they be supported, uplifted, and may the spirit of George Floyd come and provide us with the insight of what it is that we need in order to support the movement, in order to get rid of this injustice, or figuring out how to neutralize what's happening. And so that is my call to action now, is how can you neutralize the frequency of this injustice, right? In a way that would, result in a positive change. And I say, what do you need to be confident to be a part of this change? And so this is something to think about, really give it some intentional thought, and based on what it is that you bring to the table. And like I said, for me, I know that that's through my writing and through my speaking, to be able to leverage um, my influence and my, the platform that I have, to be responsible how I share with others, how I connect with others, and again, being very intentional about what it is that I'm doing. So with that, and not to be in light of what's going on, we want to be aware. We want to love and support each other. We want to continue to build with each other. And there's not always high days, the ebb and flows of life. And for us to learn how to continue to work through those things together, to build upon, again, the foundation that was already paved before us, learn what it was that was done, that was successful. How did it help those that came before us, and how can we apply their practices to today, right, in the context where it will help us to move from the survival mode into a thriving space. So with that, all of you all, I love you. And in order to continue to uplift and support your spirit during this time, remember that knowledge is power, especially knowledge of self, right? And I'm your host, Nakia Porter. We got Davis, Thrash, Lovely, Powell, Porter, just to name a few. And I continue to give thanks to all of them, and special thanks, special consideration and love and support to uplift them, motivate them, protect them, to George Floyd and his family, and for all of those that have been impacted by this particular situation that's happening right now, this piece of injustice, that we are all understanding how to move forward next. And each time that we get more clear by receiving the messages that we need in order to make the next step. So with that, I love you all. Please be true, be brilliant, and be you. Peace.